Well, good evening. Welcome to the Tuesday, September 18 City Council meeting. Must not be a Metallica show tonight because we got a full house in the audience. I'm going to take a note before we read the roll call tonight. Councilor Staley is joining us via teleconference. She's on the phone right now, and so she'll be joining us remotely for the duration of the meeting. And so with that note, Clerk, I'd ask you to read the roll, please.
Councilmember Selberg.
Here.
Sale.
Here.
Starr.
Here.
Staley.
Here.
Brecky.
Here.
Erickson.
Here.
Kylie.
Here.
Neitzer.
Here.
And Councilmember Staley, you wish to make a point of personal privilege to explain your absence tonight.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And I just wanted to ask the public to join me and my family in prayers. My mother is severely ill. I'm at the hospital with her right now, and so it's important to show your loved ones that you care while they're well, and to be able to be with them in their last days is very meaningful as well. So thank you for the prayers.
Yep. Thank you. Absolutely. So as is tradition with our meetings, we have the opportunity to begin them with an invocation. And tonight we are honored to have Karen Schwabach here from the Direct Line Prayer Center. And so what I would ask is that you rise, and Karen will give us the invocation, and then you remain standing after the invocation for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good evening. Please pray with me. Teresa, we are saddened to hear that your mother is ill. So we are asking God to bless you and your family with peace and to touch your mom tonight in a very special way. So we will continue to lift you and your family up. Father God, we thank you for who you are and acknowledge that you are a mighty God. We thank you that your eye is on our city and surrounding communities. Thank you for blessing us with prosperity and peace that touches every sphere of influence, which includes government, education, business, media, arts, entertainment, and religion. God, we're grateful for our elected officials and their willingness to serve our community. Bless their sacrificial efforts. Thank you for their integrity and transparency. Thank you for their visionary, creative leadership in the midst of challenges. God, that they would know your heart and mind in each situation they face. We lift up this evening's agenda and ask your continued wisdom, knowledge, understanding, and unity. As they discuss the issues, lead and guide them as they make decisions to enhance our quality of life. Father God, we thank you for every blessing you've given our community, but we're asking for the more so we can be a greater blessing. God, we ask your kingdom come, your perfect will to be done in our city council meetings, this city, and state, as it is in heaven, in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we will move on to the approval of our consent agenda tonight. Do I have a motion to approve?
Erickson.
Second. Kylie.
Move to approve by Erickson, seconded by Kylie. Is there any discussion on the consent agenda? If not, roll call vote on that, please.
Councilmember Selberg.
Yes.
Sale.
Yes.
Starr.
Yes.
Staley.
Yes.
Brecky.
Yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
Neitzer.
Yes.
All right, that is passed 8-0. Now on to our regular agenda.
Move to approve Erickson.
Second, Neitzer.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah,
I can make a motion to amend the agenda by moving item 41 immediately before item 20, and then by moving item 38 immediately before item 27.
okay.
Second.
Okay, a motion by Counselor Erickson to move item 41 immediately before item 20 and item 38 immediately before item 27. It's seconded by Selberg. Any discussion on that?
This is just simply to rearrange to show the same respect when we have appointed offices, as well as moving the budget together, so those two items are together for ease of schedule.
Any further discussion on that? A vote on that amendment, please.
Councilmember Selberg.
Yes.
Sale.
Yes.
Starr.
Yes.
Daly.
Yes.
Brecky. Erickson.
Yes?
Kylie.
Yes.
Neitzer.
Yes.
All right, that's passed 8-0. Any further discussion? Not, I need a vote on the amended motion to approve, please.
Councilmember Selberg.
Yes.
Sale.
Yes.
Starr.
Yes.
Daly.
Yes.
Brecky.
Yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
Neitzer.
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. We are now at the public input portion of our agenda tonight. We have a full boat tonight of people, and so just a reminder, if you're here to speak on anything that's on the agenda itself, you'll have a chance to do that. And so we ask that the public input topics are kept to items not appearing on the agenda. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes unless additional time is granted. And for the record, it is 7:06. So come forward, please, sir.
Hello, Mayor.
Good evening. How are you?
James. I got a thing from Southeastern when I was on the Shelter Plus Care. That was through like Levon, but she does not in housing no more. I was having a hard time buying a place, okay, and they give you a certain amount of time. When I went to Levon before she left, okay, it takes so long to read this, but the reason why they dropped me is because they said I couldn't find a place, which because of this, my circumstances has nothing to do with anything but my past. Okay. Well, I went to Levon and talked to her, and she says it wasn't her that did it. It was Fifth Street. And I went to them, and then they told me why. I said, well, you know, you guys really just made this really super hard for me now. You know, because I've been trying, like, Aaron, George, and all them. And it's just like they'd say, yeah, where weren't you a place we're going to do it? And when it comes times, I had to rent it. And it's just really tough. It's not easy, okay? It's really hard. And I'm not complaining and not blaming nobody, because that's not my job, you know, to do that. Is I'm still trying to do the best I can, which, you know, but it's not easy for me. But I'm still going and still trucking on. I did do a senior thing in the paper on affordable housing, I think it was, which is really good for, you know, people that, you know, in fixed income, you know, but that's not going to help me because my situation, which is nothing, and it's really hard. And I know Colleen's doing her best, because I really appreciate that lady. She's gone out the bat, you know, and I do know there are places, I don't even know what to say anymore, because I'm getting burned out. You know, it's tough, it's hard. It's like, I'll be 60 years old, I should be having my own place. But thanks.
Thank you, James. Good evening.
Good evening, everybody. My name's Heather Pastor. I'm going to start out by doing something under the little slide thing here. This right here is the income that I used to get from SSI. That's $733 at one point. Then this right here is the income that I get now from Social Security, which is $750. Well, I don't really want to show everything. This right here is a place that me and my fiance want to be able to own, like our own place. But what the problem is with our situation, we can't get into no place. I can't get a loan for a place because of what, I'm not going to go in detail, but because of what we pay every month together between our income and him working, we can't get caught up on past credits to get a loan, to get our own place. And I got everything going for myself as far as the civil thing through the courts itself. And like my fiance said, my Colleen has been great working with me. But it's really hard for me because I pretty much am a loner. I don't have anybody. My mother's deceased. My dad, we won't touch up on that topic, but I had forgiven him. My brother, don't care about me. Don't want to discuss that one either. I basically was brought up in a broken home, family that abandoned me, and I've been out here working my butt off on the fight against discrimination. It's really hard because there's other people in this state that can go and get loans and get their own place. And there's other people in this state that are actually got passes, like my brother. The place that my brother's staying at, well, if it wasn't for the distance of the school that's by there, I guess me and my man could get into a place like that. You know, we stayed at the missions, but a lot of people started stuff with me. I was called a street punk. I was kicked out in the blizzard and cold one winter until my fiance got me into another shelter. Now they're accusing us of not following the rules and all kinds of stuff that ain't true. Slandering's another big issue. I'm trying to stand up for the rights, not just for myself, for anybody that's going through this. And, you know, we can't even go through the community outreach. They got a program now where they're helping people buy their own house, but because I don't have kids, I won't qualify. And this is part of what I'm trying to work with this discrimination thing. And I hope everybody has a blessed weekend, holiday, and God bless. That's all I have to say. And I'm not giving up. Just to let everybody know I will not give up.
Thank you.
God bless.
Other comments this evening from the public?
I am Stephen Ciano. Once again, I was quite capable. Born in '59, Brooklyn, New York. Grew up, learned to fight, learned to play chess. Top handball player too. Quite accomplished intellectually as well, creatively, music. And joined the military on certain conditions and was what they call discriminated against. I was targeted and suffered a breakdown, whereas as of '78, I got discharged early, arguably entitled to compensation, but instead it was covered up. Well, I've heard a lot in the news about entitlement lately, entitlement programs where people are down on people to get payment for perhaps a disability. Is that what it's about, perhaps? Well, I haven't gotten much help. And like I said last time I was here, that recently, and I have come before you struggling to breathe, to stand, and some of my physical problems on top of the mental with the PTSD and Asperger's, so I have trouble in social situations. But as I did show you a letter from my primary mental health counselor of 15 years, I am credible in what I say. Working on it step by step. About the entitlement, it's a misuse of the word, I feel. We, as the public who are disabled, are entitled to payment. I've seen so many people not disabled who are defrauding the system, getting paid for just hanging out, and they're in a lot better shape than I have been for years. I see them around here. I've seen them around the country. We need to fix the system. Yeah, maybe you people, you can just do stuff locally, as I've mentioned about your human relations department and your Southeastern Behavioral you're giving money to. They are only entitled to receive money and to accept money as so long as they are in performance of their duties under contract with you, the council, mayor, and the public. They need to be serving us. They work for us. You work for us. And that goes for you too. So that's what I have to add. Thank you.
Thanks, Stephen. Anyone else for public input tonight? If not, clerk, next item, please.
Item 41, a motion to provide advice and consent for the appointment of Jason Reisdorfer as the Director of Innovation and Technology.
I'm going to pass the gavel to the Council Chair Erickson so I can speak to this item, Council. So this is my appointment for the new Director of Innovation and Technology in our city. It's a new department, a newly created department, as you all know, that we've discussed. And this appointment is I've had a few victories, and people like Stacy and Erica Beck and TJ Nelson extremely excited about this candidate. As we move forward as a city, one of the most critical factors that we're going to have to accept, adhere to, move forward with is a culture of innovation in our city. And finding someone who's had success doing that, building, growing, scaling operations in the private sector, that's willing to leave the private sector and come into the public arena, into the fishbowl, is hard to do. And so tonight, my nomination, Jason Reisdorfer, is doing just that. And he has a pretty fantastic track record of encouraging, spurring innovation in the private sector. Now, this is not an IT director we're hiring. We're not hiring someone to manage IT and be an IT director. We're not hiring someone to manage and directly have marketing knowledge, even though the communications department falls under that. We're not hiring someone who's an expert in GIS. What we're hiring is a leader and an innovator. So I want to make that clear. This isn't an IT position. We don't need an IT nerd in this role. We need an innovator and someone who knows operations. There's a few areas where I feel like I come into City Hall with some track record and some history. And one of those is in technology and marketing technology specifically. As you know, that's my background. And so there would be substantial rights by you all if I was hiring a public works director or a fire director that there was concern about, because that's not my lane. But I come before you tonight telling you this is exactly my lane. And we got a rock star candidate in Jason Reisdorfer, who's ready to leave the comforts of the private sector to lead the innovation efforts of the city, to manage a fantastic IT team, which we have, to take our multimedia team to our communications team and lead that team and empower them. And so I couldn't be more excited about this. I've been itching to speak to this item for the last couple weeks because I think he's going to be a fantastic win for the city. I'm glad he's here tonight. Glad his family's here. Thank you for being here. And so at this point, I would love to ask Jason, if you'd be willing to come forward and say anything that's on your heart about this appointment. So welcome, young man.
I think I've got a little older after these last couple of weeks, but if you wouldn't mind, I've timed this out at about 4 minutes instead of 3. Is that a
3-minute limit? No, I'm just kidding. 4 minutes is fine.
I'll talk a little faster. So good evening to you, Mayor Tenhanken, and you as well, councilors. I stand before you tonight humbled by the opportunity to be considered for the Director of Innovation and Technology for Sioux Falls. The first time I ever met the mayor was about a year ago. He was just Paul back then, and he was presenting at 1 Million Cups down at Prairie Berry. At the end of the presentation, I introduced myself, and we spent 3 or 4 minutes getting acquainted. After a couple more visits with him during his campaign, we ended up connecting again on the night of the election. I shook his hand and said, "Mayor, congrats. If you ever need anything really hard done, call me. I love the tough stuff. So if you ever need to fill a committee or a task force for something really difficult, I'm your guy." You remember that?
I do remember that.
You see, solving tough problems is what I do. It's what drives me. It's what excites me about this position. For the past 7 years, I've been very fortunate to serve as the operations director for the most awesome family-owned business in the area, Weiser Distributing. In this role, I manage more than 130 employees, and we've experienced explosive growth in one of the most exciting industries in the world of e-commerce. Our company lived on the leading edge of change, partnering with some of the largest companies in the world. So some might wonder, why would you be leaving a key executive role of a top 50 Amazon seller in the world? The answer is quite simply, I have a desire to serve. 3 or 4 years ago, my friend and former city councilor Kenny Anderson Jr. reached out to me and said, "Jason, there's a position open on the Sioux Falls Parks Board, and I think you'd be a great fit. You should apply for that." This was very out of the blue for me because I had very little interest in local politics, or any politics for that matter. I was not active in elections, I didn't read the newspaper, and I didn't follow state or national government. But right around the time that Kenny reached out, something happened to me. My church was shaken to the core between pastoral and staff departures. Members were leaving, budgets were blown, we were losing our congregation. It was then that I decided it was my time to step up. It was my time to stand up and do something. So shortly after applying, Mayor Huther called me and said, "Who are you and why the heck do you want to serve on the park board?" This is exactly what I told him. For 35 years, I've been a consumer of this city and its parks and our resources. And I'm at the fortunate stage in my life that I want to start being a contributor. From that point on, I've been engaged in our community. I love Sioux Falls. I've traveled all over the country, and I tell everybody that this is simply the greatest city in the nation. Yet, we are not a perfect city. We have challenges to overcome, and solving them starts with innovation. And in today's digital age, it'll likely require the use of technology investments. Solving problems with fresh ideas, uniting teams, and collaborating with city employees and members of the public is part of our city's path to greater success. And I'm called to help carry the banner of innovation and technology for the city of Sioux Falls. I'm called to this opportunity. I'm magnetized by the leadership style that Mayor Tenhanken has demonstrated. I'm excited at his vision and his dreams and his ideas. Members of the City Council, thank you for the opportunity to address you tonight, and also for the time that many of you took over the last couple of weeks to discuss this with me. I humbly ask you for your support tonight, as well as the years to come, to help move Sioux Falls forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. At this time, is there anyone else from, actually, before you leave, I would love for you to introduce your family. I know you brought your family here, so I think that is appropriate.
So this is my wife, Erica. We were high school sweethearts since we were 16 years old. So we're 38 now. We've been together
20.
a long time. This is our oldest daughter, Raina, and my youngest daughter, Mallory. Raina's 10 and Mallory's 6, and they both go to Discovery Elementary School.
Well, thank you for bringing your family tonight. At this point, we will turn it over to public input. If there's anyone that would like to address the public, please step forward and state your name for the record. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Lorraine Lindquist, and I'm pleased to speak to you tonight. I serve as president of the Sioux Falls Parks and Recreation Board. And I first became acquainted with Jason a little over a year ago when he joined us on the board, and he quickly became a most valued member of this group. The wise counsel that Jason always provided at our meetings is going to be difficult to replace. I think it's safe to say that there will now be a very large Jason-sized hole in our group. But we are thrilled that he's still going to be on the city team. And we look forward as a board to working closely with Jason as we seek to incorporate new technology into our meetings and explore how smart city status and things like that could positively impact our parks and our programming. Jason's MO is to listen thoughtfully to the discussions at our board meetings and at our committee meetings, and then to offer his comments. And I believe that I speak for the board as a whole when I say that most often when he offers his comments, the rest of us are like, why didn't I think of that? Because he just has a very unique way and perspective of looking at things. And his listening skills and his ability to articulate his thoughts and his ideas, as well as his ability to understand complex issues, are going to serve the city very well in this new role. Last week, I was very privileged to attend a very early morning breakfast meeting at our church, at which the mayor was our guest. And his comments were very inspirational. He talked about being called to serve the greater community, whether you were in private business or in the public service. And there was a real emphasis being placed on being called. And as Jason attested to in his remarks, I know that he feels this calling very strongly. That's why he was willing to take on that position that was open on the Parks and Rec Board and is now willing to serve our city in a full-time capacity, even though it means walking away from a very successful business career. This is a visionary administration. All of you are a part of that, and you are going to do a great job setting the course for our city for years to come. And Jason is a top-notch addition to that vision. Thanks again, Jason, for your valuable insight that you've provided us on the board. I wholeheartedly endorse Jason to serve as the first Director of Innovation and Technology for our city, and I strongly encourage you as a council to confirm him tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Welcome, sir. State your name for the record.
My name is Eric Weiser. I live in Sioux Falls. Thanks for taking a few moments to listen to me this evening. I've known Jason for the better part of 20 years. And 7 years ago, I went to him with the problem that I had in my business. I needed someone to list some inventory on eBay. Really, really simple. My dad and I had a nice little family business, and we wanted to sell a few things on eBay. For most folks, that would have been it, and actually, that would have been just fine with me, but Jason couldn't help himself but had bigger plans. Our business has now over 130 employees, complex partnerships with e-commerce giants like Amazon, eBay, Sears, Walmart. We have sales all over the world. We've been a 4-time Inc. 5000 company, a top 50 seller on the Amazon platform. And in fact, one of my proudest moments came when an executive from operations at Amazon asked us flat out, how are you doing what you're doing? And the king of e-commerce, and all commerce really for that matter, wanted to know our secret sauce. And my answer to them was a team of hardworking, conscientious Midwestern employees, and all of them are led by Jason Reisdorfer. Since the day we hired Jason, we've added about 1 employee per month, and on the outset, this might just seem normal. As your sales grow, you're going to grow your staff. But the challenge that made this particular thing different is we needed our staff to grow with us, and this is not easy. Jason had to make decisions of when to train and promote from within and when to hire from outside our company. Each of those situations has its challenges, and Jason handled them like the top-level executive that he is. Jason has never been afraid to get dirty and do whatever is asked of him. He's loaded trucks. My dad at one point said he loads trucks faster than anybody we know. He sweeps the floor, and he's went on runs for our famous staff lunches at Weiser Distributing. When we grew past 50 employees, this is where Jason really started to shine. He didn't have to unload trucks anymore, and so he could shift his focus to strategic planning. We tried many methods, but in the end, we settled on what's called an entrepreneur's operating system called Traction. Jason's a skilled leader in this system, and we've had many other businesses come watch Jason and our team in action during weekly, quarterly, and annual strategic planning sessions. After these sessions, I always get the same questions from these business leaders. Where did you find this guy, and can he come and do this for us? Folks have also asked me, how do you let him go? And I tell them all the same thing. I looked into his eyes and knew this is what he wanted to do. And there's no stopping him. Jeez. It's not about the money, and I'm glad it isn't, because Jason's a skilled negotiator. And you all know the public service isn't about the money. You're proof of that. He's doing this, and you're doing this to make a difference. And then that's what you have in Jason. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that would like to speak to this item? If there's anyone that would like to speak next, you're welcome to make your way to the front.
Hello, my name is Tina Beal, and I am a proud resident of Sioux Falls. And I'm also an advocate of stepping forward in growth. This experience right now for me is making me grow. Our city is growing continually. The role we're here to discuss is undoubtedly about growth, and the individual I'm here to support will grow exponentially through this position. Counselors, Mr. Mayor, if you are sincerely seeking an individual to advocate for growth and simultaneously change, you most definitely have found a champion of growth and change in Jason. Now, before you make the assumption I am just a sweet friend doing Jason a sweet favor, because this is a really sweet deal for him, I want to share a few things. I have seen Jason function in nearly every area of his life. I have seen him with friends in his home. I have seen him in the community. I have seen him at church. I have seen him in business. And I have seen him use his skills and his gifts and his natural gut intuition. And I've also seen areas that he knows he needs to improve on. And I think that's important to note. As you know, all humans, we are imperfect. But the good ones, we work hard to figure things out. So why do I believe Jason is the best candidate for this role? Because I believe in him. He's from here. He lives here. His family is here. He's been through every high and low and in between right here in our community. He's been a volunteer, an employee, and an entrepreneur and a visionary, not only within our church that I'm also a member of, but with Weiser. And when I asked him why he wanted to do this, why do you want to do this? Because frankly, it's nerve-wracking to watch a friend go from a private sector to a public sector. He said, because he knows he's being called to serve. And isn't that the highest recognition to be offered from your city, is an opportunity to serve? Jason, I prayed a lot, and I agree that this is the great role for you. I'm very proud of you. And I know even on the hard days, you will show up. I know on the days you're being challenged, you will rise up. And I know on the days when you want to quit, you won't, because you love this city and these people so much. And I appreciate your time to recommend Jason. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome, sir.
My name is Nick Collins. I am the lead pastor at the church that Jason referenced earlier. I first met Jason, it was a little over 3 years ago now, probably 3.5 years ago, when I was interviewing for the job. Jason was on the call team. And from that moment, my first meeting, I knew that there was something different about Jason. That there was a passion, there was a drive. And as we continued and started to move forward into our future, moving on from the issues that Jason alluded to earlier, we got to a point to where we needed strong leadership. And as the lead pastor, I get the opportunity, as the mayor does at times, to appoint people or to recommend people for appointment. And as I was thinking about who it was that I wanted to be at the helm of helping make the decisions for the future of our congregation, Jason was my prime choice. I found, as others are standing up here talking about Jason, that something about him is that there are leaders, there are visionary leaders who notice something about Jason. And I don't always agree. And that's the one thing that I really appreciate about him is we don't always agree on issues. We don't always agree on decisions. We speak our differences, but those differences come from a point of passion. They come from a point of looking to make something better. So whatever disagreements Jason and I have, I know that his position always comes out of a point of advancing, out of a point of improving. And so I know that he will bring that same value to the work that he does here. I've walked with Jason over the past few weeks as he's discerned this calling, this invitation from the mayor. I know for him it's not a choice of, yes, this is a public thing, now I get to jump in there. He understands the fishbowl. He understands what he's getting into, and it's despite that understanding that he still senses and feels that call to jump in. So tonight I urge you as council members to approve Jason as a great leader for this city. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Is there anyone else that would like to address the council?
Mayor, we had our differences, and I support the mayor on this.
Can you
but
please
I'm
state
gonna
your
have
name
to
for the records?
Sierra Broussard say
Thank you.
this. When he was on the Parks Board and Teresa Staley brought up transparency on the Parks Board, he was on the Parks Board and every one of them slammed her. Is this the right choice for Sioux Falls? Absolutely not. Mayor, we might disagree and we might agree on things, but how the Parks Board, and he was on the Parks Board, agreed on transparency and what Teresa was trying to do for transparency on the Park Board, when they demolished her, when she did her presentation, because I was there for that, I don't think he's the right candidate for this job, and he's sure not for transparency.
Anyone else like to speak? Please come forward. Thank you.
Hello, good evening. My name is Erica Varco, and I live here in Sioux Falls, and I'm the Director of Children and Family Ministry at Holy Cross, where Jason and his family attends, and he also serves on the church council. And if you were to ask me a few years ago if I were to stand up here and support Jason Reisdorfer, I don't know if I would be able to say yes right away. When our church was shaken, it also divided us, and there were a lot of sides, there was a lot of ugliness, there was some bullying going on, and it was very hard. And then Jason stood up, and Jason did something that was very difficult. He did what was right, and that meant standing up against the people that he's known his whole life. It meant standing up to the leadership at the church at the time. And it meant standing up for his family because he knew what he wanted in that place. Jason has a big heart, but even bigger grit. He's passionate. He is full of morals and values. And I can say from personal experience that you can trust him. Jason looks out for what is best. Jason looks out for what is right. And Jason doesn't react. He doesn't let his emotions get in the way. And he will stand and fight for what he believes in. It won't be the easiest. In fact, it will probably be the hardest. But you can go to bed every single night knowing that he gave it his all and he did it for all of us. He goes to work every single day and fights for his family. He fights for us. He gives his time to make this place, this city, our church, a better place. And he's a really, really good guy. Thank you.
Thank you, Erica. Is there anyone else that would like to address the council? Welcome.
Good evening, Jason Honey. I cannot believe in a million years I'm standing here doing this for the guy I know as Jaybird. Bird. Unreal. I think this guy's got the life I want. A lot of the things he's done, and I've only known him for 10 years through softball and some other things going on. There's been times when I've wanted to choke him and wring his neck, and I'm sure vice versa. And recently, we play in the same fantasy football league. He's terrible, by the way. But 2 weeks ago, I was at my desk at work, and sometimes him and I went round and round in texts and emails, and I thought to myself, you know, enough. I think I'm just going to text him. I'm going to pour my heart out to him and tell him how proud I am of him, how great of a job he's doing, and how unbelievable it is to me that the guy I know from 10 years ago has come this far. Putting aside all the differences him and I have had, I wanted to come up here basically as my apology text to anything I've done to upset you. But it's because I think we have a lot of the same thoughts. I just go about things a little differently. You do it a lot smarter than I do. You know how to hold back and not push all your chips in until the time is right, where I just want to fire off on social media right away and react. But how amazing is it to hear from his employer at Weiser what he has done for that company, from his pastor, from some other friends. I'm sitting back here in the back row going, I'm learning a lot more about this guy than I ever thought I would, and I thought I knew him pretty well. What an amazing choice. I'm jealous. But I live in Brandon, so I really don't have a dog in the fight. Otherwise, I'd probably want this job too, but I'm so amazed. You know, he's just always had pretty good timing. I kind of wanted to come and address a few things that other people had addressed, maybe like transparency and some other things that I'm looking at a name and an empty seat, but that's okay. I don't think everybody needs to know everything going on, and sometimes government, business, politics, these sort of things, because there's just things that go on behind closed doors that not everybody needs to know. When you talk about technology sector, some of the best people in technology came from humble beginnings. And the building you're sitting in, the first mega billionaire, Andrew Carnegie, came from one of the hardest working, started his way at the ground up. I'm not saying Jason's Andrew Carnegie, my God, no way. But the guy has started from kind of the ground. I knew him when he didn't have a job, when he started getting a job, when he did some different things. And that's why I was so amazed when he worked for Weiser to take them where they got to. You can't find a better choice. Look at that track record. This is a slam dunk. He's a great guy. And, you know, we'll keep poking each other in the ribs. I hope he gets this job so I can poke him a little harder about some things. So I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Jason. Is there anyone else that would like to address the council? If not, I'll turn it over to the council for if I can have a motion to provide advice and consent for the appointment of Jason Reisdorfer as the Director of Innovation and Technology.
Move to approve.
Second, Neitzer.
There's been a motion and a second. Any discussion or debate? Councilor Neitzer.
Yeah, I just want to say for full disclosure, I do go to the same church as Jason, and I've known him for a handful of years. His wife is my daughter's Sunday school teacher. We know each other through that common thread, but we haven't worked together. There's no financial relationship or anything, so I believe I'm free to judge this on the merits. You know, before his service on the park board, I observed an individual who is very engaged in his church, serving in its leadership, and someone who is a true leader. He's a good person with a lovely family, including his wife Erica and his 2 daughters. These are good people. More recently, I've witnessed Jason serving on the Parks Board, and we have seen him talk in front of the City Council on a few occasions, and I'll have to be honest, he's been very articulate and thought-provoking. His arguments were well-reasoned and actually gave me quite a bit of pause to rethink my positions on both of those issues. He has a proven track record. He has a spirit of service. He's coming at this for all of the right reasons. The motives are pure, he's articulate, he's confident, he's a proven leader, and he's a person of good character. I had one little reservation when I heard, I was a little surprised, and I'll tell you what, when he was announced, and I'll tell you why. The only reason was because I had a vision that this was a purely information technology position. So I had kind of a vision of, kind of the nerd, kind of like me, sitting there writing code, that sort of thing. And the aha moment for me came when I had a talk with the mayor, and I kind of learned what his vision was, what he's looking for. We're not just looking for a network administrator. We're looking for a problem solver. We're looking for somebody with a vision who's going to solve problems in a different way, who's going to be looking at all departments and trying to figure out, how do we find new creative solutions? How do we challenge people? How do we nudge people and get people to unleash their potential and just find all of these new ways and have somebody who's going to think a little bit differently. And this is a person that has that track record in the jobs that he's worked in. And I'm giving, obviously, this is the mayor's wheelhouse. He's made these selections before in his private life. So I just want to say that I strongly support this. He's got a good track record. He's a good person, and he deserves this appointment. Thank you.
Councilor Kiley.
Thank you very much. Well, to borrow a line or a partial line from a movie, Jason, you had me with a desire to serve. I mean, what a excellent reason for being here. And I think that tells us a lot about you as a person. Also, you like to tackle the tough problems. And obviously, you're good at doing that. Top 50 seller on Amazon, wow. And others are coming to you to see what the secret sauce is. Amazing. I learned a lot about Jason this evening too, and from each and every one of you that came up in support of Jason and this nomination made by Mayor Ten Aiken. He's obviously very articulate. I knew that before this evening. No disrespect to, and I've been on the council now for 5 years, and so I've had sat through a number of these with directors, and no disrespect to other directors, but that was one of the best presentations by a director nominee that I've ever seen. It is the best. Jason, that was fantastic. You are a motivator, you're a people person, and I believe you're the person for the job.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Selberg.
Thank you very much. Well, what a touching show of support from friends and family. Pretty impressive. I've gotten to know you just a little bit over the last year or two, and I really appreciate your engagement, your interest in the community, your passion, and I'm quite sure you're going to bring that and a commitment to the job as well. And I do appreciate that you are willing to put yourself out there in the name of public service. As we all know, it's not a whole lot of laughs sometimes, but good for you for keeping your chin up and going for it. So again, I think you're going to do a great job. From what I've gotten to know about you, I'm pretty much repeating a lot of what I've heard. I couldn't say it any better than the last two, but I think you'll do a great job for the city. So all the best to you and your family.
Thank you, Councilor. Is there anyone else that would like to speak or ask any questions? Councilor Brecky.
Just a few comments. I was able to meet with Jason this week, and I have to admit that early on in this process, I was concerned about the qualifications. And I've been told before that I'm an education snob. And because education is important to me, and I'm probably a little old-fashioned in that regard. And so it took a little while for me to come on board to the idea that we were having what I thought was going to be, an IT director that didn't know anything about IT and didn't have an education, a college degree. But after talking to Jason and talking to the mayor, I learned really a better understanding of what the position is, and the position is really an innovator. And I'm reluctant, but I'm willing to come on board and try to be a modern woman and accept that the mayor needs an innovator and that would be good for the city. And when I talked to Jason and learned of his more of a Bill Gates style success story, in the private sector, I understood why the mayor wants that kind of a person on his team. And I know that it's very important to the mayor. But I would say this, Mayor, just in the name of process, if we'd have had a little more information early on, about the nature of the position and the hiring, and I would give you sort of a little gentle slap along the head, like in the NCIS thing where Mark Harmon kind of pops everybody all the time. It's kind of like Dorothy in the Land of Oz. Mayor, Dorothy, you're not in Kansas anymore. Mayor, you're not in private business anymore. And this advice and consent thing, it is really important. And, it used to be that the council only gave advice and consent for those directors that had 5%, control of 5% over the budget. But somewhere along the line, there was a charter revision change which required council advice and consent over every position. So it is a really important role that we play. And I am going to support you today in your innovator position. I do understand, and quite frankly, that's one of the reasons that I saw you as a good leader. I thought that in this innovative world, in this technological world, that having youth and experience in that area, would really help move this city into the next decade. And so I'll give you that position, but you come up with a finance director that doesn't have a finance degree, I'm going to have some problems.
Just don't hit me.
Any other comments from the council?
Yes, I have a comment.
Okay, go ahead, Councilor Staley.
And if you, unfortunately, I'm sitting in the chapel at the hospital, and the clock is going off with some music. If someone hears something in the background, so sorry. This is my quiet place here. Well, first of all, let me say can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, you're fine.
Okay. For the public to know that when these appointments come up, that the council has no input into the interview process or vetting out candidates initially. So this comes to us with this advice and consent process right now. And I want the public to understand that I take it very seriously, that we are elected to make the best decisions for our citizens. And this, to me, is something similar to the confirmation hearings that we have within the Senate. I mentioned this, I believe it was last month, when we had Stacey Koistra presented to us as the city attorney candidate. And I told the mayor I'm going to be grilling him and looking at him as if he was a Senate Chief Justice candidate. And I can say that I could enthusiastically embrace the city attorney, Stacey Koistra. He came to us with a clean slate. He had great maturity, a great attitude, a supportive attitude, and I just think he was a fabulous fit. Erica Beck is another person who came to us as the chief of staff. She has experience in city government, always just very respectful towards everyone. I embraced her as well. The position that we are, I know we're saying it's not an IT position, but there is a vacancy as far as what the responsibilities were for Sue Quanbeck-Etten. And just so the public knows that her salary, and the mayor has told me this salary will be the same with Jason if he's approved. It's $147,000. It's over $147,000, and in addition to that, there's $44,000 of benefits. So it's a total of at least $191,000. So it's a very high-paying job, and of course it has a lot of experience needed. The previous IT director, Sue Quanbeck-Etten, told me this weekend, I just said, because again, somebody's going to have to take over her duties as the IT director. And she had 8 years with the city, and she was making that $191,000 that Jason will be starting at. Sue Quanbeck had a BA in business management. She had a master's degree in information technology management. She had 17 years of experience prior to coming to the city in IT management. So I think she was very qualified. I was actually surprised to find out what her qualifications were. Let me also say that in my 2.5 years as a city council member, I have always been treated with the utmost respect publicly by our department heads and our city staff for that matter. We've had contentious issues that we've dealt with. I have never seen anything disparagingly reported by those people about any of us in the media or social media or the regular media. Professionalism has reigned. This position is going to be crucial to connect the citizens to information. And unless the mayor's planning to hire someone else to handle the things that Sue Quanbeck did, this is going to be handling all of our email information, the city link information, connecting people to what's going on within our city government. And I can tell you there's a lot of people right now who don't know what's going on. There are a lot of people who don't have access to technology, our senior citizens, and to me it's going to be a very important position to fill. I got to know Jason about 2 years ago, shortly after we were elected, and he was appointed as a park board member, and Greg Neitzer gave him such high marks because they were church members together, and I voted in favor of Jason. I approved that. I had 2 experiences with Jason on the park board, and as one of the citizens testified, a year ago in the summer, I brought forth an ordinance with Greg Neitzer seconding it that would have mandated that we have a district representation on the park board from every part of our city to give the citizens in every quadrant of our city a place at the table. Very much designed exactly the way we do our city council seats. Jason adamantly opposed me, as did all the park board members, voted against this and worked against it. It ended up coming down to a 4-4 vote. The mayor broke the tie on that. To me, that was about representation, pure and simple. Jason also was on the park board, and they all supported the secret golf course contract. We had this whole secret selection committee. It was very contentious. The golfers in our community were very concerned. And again, lack of transparency, and I know one of our public inputters said we don't need to have transparency. I think we need more of that and not less of that. So, yes, I have had a relationship with Jason before this nomination came up a week ago, and I just wanted the public to understand my thoughts on this very important position. We want what's best for our citizens moving forward. Thank you.
Any other comments from the council? Questions? If not, there is a motion and a second. I'd ask for the roll call, please.
Council Member Selberg?
Yes.
Sale?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
No.
Brecky?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
That passes 7-1. Mr. Mayor, I'll pass your gavel back.
Congratulations, sir. Let's give the guy a round of applause. Thank you. All right, next item, please.
Item number 20, new 2018 retail wine license for Touchmark at All Saints Retirement, Waterford at All Saints, 111 West 17th Street, cup not required. 21, new 2018-19 retail malt beverage license for Touchmark at All Saints Retirement, Waterford at All Saints, 111 West 17th Street, CUP not required. 22, new 2018-19 retail malt beverage license for the Diamond Room LLC, the Diamond Room, 3501 West 57th Street, CUP not required, pending plan review, permit issuance, and final inspections per building services. 23, special one-day malt beverage license for the Episcopal Church of the Good Shepherd, 2707 West 33rd Street, for a church fundraiser on September 21st, 2018. 24, special one-day wine license for downtown Sioux Falls to be operated at the 8th and Railroad Center lobby, 401 East 8th Street, for a fundraiser on October 5th, 2018. 25, special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine licenses for South Dakota Trust Association to be operated at Augustana University, 2001 South Summit Avenue, for a networking event on October 16, 2018. 26, special one-day liquor license for Butterfly House and Aquarium, 4320 South Oxbow Avenue, for a fundraiser on November 9th, 2018.
Good evening, Jamie Palmer with licensing. Items 20 and 21 are for Waterford at All Saints. They are requesting this so that they can serve wine and beer during meal times and special events for their residents and the residents' guests. I would kindly make a motion to withdraw 22. This particular business is not ready for a license at this time, so they plan to resubmit that at a later date. And also a request to withdraw item 23. They have decided not to have alcohol at their event. And items 24 through 26 are all special one-day requests that have met the state law requirements. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, before that, is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak to any of these items? Councilors, questions for Jamie on any of these?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Motion to withdraw items 22 and 23.
Second.
Okay, motion by Kylie, seconded by Erickson to withdraw 22 and 23. Any discussion on that? Can I get a vote on that, please?
Council Member Selberg?
Yes.
Sale?
Yes.
Starr? Yes. Staley?
Yes.
Brecky?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
All right, that has passed 8-0. Can I get a motion to approve items 20, 21, and 24 to 26?
So moved.
Second.
So moved by Kylie and seconded by Erickson. Discussion on any of those items? Okay. If not, a vote on that, please.
Council Member Selberg?
Yes.
Sale?
Yes.
Starr? Yes. Staley?
Yes.
Brecky?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
All right, that has passed 8-0. Next item, please.
Item 38, a resolution adopting the budget for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2019, and the 2019 to 2023 capital program.
Tom, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. I was trying to judge the crowd to see if there's more Jason people than budget people here. So.
This party died pretty quick, so
it's
you're
good
on.
night.
Yeah.
So it's been quite a journey. We began, again, Tom Huber with the Finance Office. We began the budget process early in the year in order to present the City Council with a capital program in June and a complete budget in July. City Council held departmental hearings throughout the month of August and added 2 working sessions in September to vet through this budget. Having been involved in just a few budgets over the years and having some really good mentors along the way, my takeaway has always been to make sure the budget meets the following 4 ideals. Responsible, providing value-added products and services to our customers, budgeting for both today and tomorrow with both today and tomorrow in mind. Respectful, being mindful of the work that has gone into providing the city these resources, whether paying taxes or fees, and also respecting those employees who will deliver these services. Resourceful, getting the most from every dollar, and responsive, making sure the budget meets the needs of our community, our customers, our citizens, and our visitors. I believe the $498.2 million 2019 budget across all funds and departments, including the $169.2 million general fund budget and 5-year capital program, meets all 4 of these ideals hands down. It's a budget focused on people, public safety, sustainable growth, and invest in the city's future. The people behind me and in front of me tonight, and many others, make sure of it. I'd like to say thank you to the finance team for all their hard work and effort, and not just those that work on the budget, but all those that pitch in behind the scenes and take care of everything else. Second, a big thank you to everyone from the mayor and his team, each department director and their teams, and each of you on the city council and your teams for making this such a rewarding journey. This has truly been a collective and collaborative effort. So I'll stand aside and be available for any questions.
Tom, thank you. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak on the budget? I know there's some amendments that you know of that will be coming forward, and we won't take public input on those amendments. So if you want to speak to any of those or the budget, now is the time for that. Okay. Does the council have any questions for Tom? Councilor Erickson.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, turn on the microphone, works better. I'll make a motion to approve the budget.
Second, Kylie.
Okay, we have a motion to approve this item and a seconded by Councilor Kylie. Discussion, debate amongst council. Councilor Erickson.
I have an amendment. Before I make the amendment, I just want to just offer a little bit of dialogue that this has been done a little bit different. I know you're newly elected. You had 90 days to put a budget together with your new team. I know we've made it, we've shared a desire to want to do the budget together, and that has been done as much as possible within that 90 days. And so I'm grateful and thankful for that. We have, as a council, we have brought forward the amendments and published them much earlier, adding another layer of transparency to that, making sure the public is aware of those amendments that could potentially come forward, as well as staff and the administration, which is different as well. And so I'm also grateful for my colleagues honoring that. The budget process is long. We've had 2 working sessions for several hours each, as well as doing our own homework and due diligence. It does take a lot of extra time, and rightfully so. We are managing the people's money. And so with that, I'd like to make one amendment, if I can, Mr. Mayor. I move to amend the 2019 General Fund Planning and Development Service budget to fund the Southeast Technical Institute Now program for $100,000, funding to come from Planning and Development Services 2019 operating budget.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Councilor Erickson and a second by Councilor Kiley on that. Councilor Erickson.
I'd like to address the amendment if I can. First of all, in the ease of keeping things streamlined, this is simply a placeholder for the planning and development services to have that in the budget. I want to make sure that's very clear to Director Cooper. Through the budget time, should this amendment pass, we do have several months to collaborate, work together, and find out where this money, if this is the best place that it fits, should it come from another department, or where that should. So my first comments to you, Mr. Director, I want to make sure that you understand that I'm not suggesting that you just cut this straight out of your budget, but we continue to have that conversation. As in regards to this amendment itself, I'm really excited about this opportunity and how far Southeast Technical Institute has come. This amendment is about workforce development. They have a proven track record. They have a great vision. They, as I've got to know some of their board members as well as Shelley, talking about some of these programs that they're funding, unfortunately, no fault to their own, Globe University lost their vet tech program. There is no vet tech program in the state of South Dakota, and they are willing to take on this program and move it forward. There is a need for very trained jobs in this community, and we as a city need to be at the table for that. I hope that you, my colleagues, will support this amendment as we move forward and can address the funding sources as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Kiley.
Yes, thank you very much. It's been my pleasure to work with Councilor Erickson on this amendment. And as I had mentioned 2 weeks ago when we first brought this together forward at a working session, workforce development is an issue I identified 5 years ago when I started my first plan or first term. And then I continue to plan on working on that through this second term as well. And Southeast Technical Institute, as I stated at that time, they've identified they can and have been addressing this workforce development related issue. It's not a concept that we're entertaining here tonight and approving, but it's a tried and true process. And let me tell you a little bit why that is. Southeast Tech has 11 programs that have a starting wage of over $20 per hour, and many of those are with employers within our metro area. Southeast Tech is a net importer of talent, with 24% of the students coming from out of state. So we're attracting those individuals, and many of them are staying here in our community once they complete their work at Southeast Tech. A big win for us. Southeast Tech listens. More than 300 advisory committee members from industry help ensure graduates have the skills employers need for success. And I'm going to list just a few of those employers here momentarily, but over 82% of the Southeast Tech graduates secure employment right here in South Dakota. So that's a net gain considering 24% came from out of state. So again, that's a win for us. So some of the current campaign contributors and supporters of the effort taking place. There's 28 of them on my list. I'm not going to list every one of them, but I will go through a few. The Association of General Contractors of South Dakota, Avera Health, Henry Carlson Construction Company, LG Everest, Malloy Electric, Sanford, Dakota Supply, Dakota Chapters, National Electrical Contractors, Electric Construction, Friesen Construction, Gage Brothers, Journey Group, Muth Electric. As I mentioned, there's many others on this list, and there's many others that are pending too. So what's missing from this list? The city of Sioux Falls is not a contributor to this workforce development effort. If we are to be effective at tackling the complex issue of workforce development, we've got to work together in collaboration. The city of Sioux Falls benefits from the efforts of Southeast Technical Institute. The city of Sioux Falls should be an active participant. I encourage my colleagues to support this amendment. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor. Other discussion on this amendment? If not, I'm going to call for a vote on that amendment, please.
Councilmember Selberg?
Yes.
Sale?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Brecky,
Yes.
Erickson,
Yes.
Kylie,
Yes.
Nitzert.
Yes.
That amendment passes 8-0, and we're back to a discussion on the main motion now as amended.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Starr.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I'd like to thank everyone involved in the process. We took this budget process very seriously as a council. I think the administration staff worked really hard to craft a plan for the next year for our citizens that is an awesome plan. The directors were very diligent in the budgets they brought forward to us, and we greatly appreciate that. One of the things when we started this process, we got a list from the administration that told the council of about $900,000 worth of things that they wanted to fund, but the revenue just wasn't there to do that. One of the things that was on that list was a line item for Kevlar for our bomb squad that would allow them to be more flexible and do their job better than they're able to do it now. And I'm proud to say that we were able to work with the administration to not fund that in 19, but to actually find the money in the current budget in 2018, and we'll be able to make a purchase of the equipment that the bomb squad needs. And I'm proud of that. I'm proud of this council for doing that and stepping up, and the administration of taking care of that need for our employees. One of the other things that that we tried to work on really hard is to replacing the funds for the Convention and Visitors Bureau for the misfortune of some accounting errors that were caught by the state revenue department. Nothing that the Convention and Visitors Bureau did, but it made $250,000 impact to their budget at a time where we need to continue to promote Sioux Falls more than ever. We have a great story, and we're a great place to live and work and come to conventions and recreate. And I look forward in the next couple of weeks with the assurance of the mayor and the administration staff that we're going to be able to put a plan together that works with Third Penny Entertainment Tax Money Fund to put some of that funding back together with a cooperative effort of the Washington Pavilion, the Denny Sanford Premier Center and Entertainment Complex, as well as the Great Plains Zoo and anything else that's part of that that we promote with the Third Penny entertainment thing. So again, that's something that's not going to be part of the budget tonight, but something that we've come together as a group and able to put the start of a very good plan that you'll see in the next couple of weeks coming forward with a budget transfer. So with that, I would like to move to one other thing. I'm sorry. There was one other thing that we added in the that isn't going to require an amendment, but maybe more clarification. In the capital improvement program on page 112, there is a line item for the Sacred Buffalo retaining wall that's part of Sherman Park. And what I requested was that they added at the end, or it's in the middle actually, but basically what we're doing is while keeping in mind the artistic vision of the sculptor. And what we want to do is, as part of the capital improvement plan, is not to just replace it with a retaining wall, but to continue the burial mounds that are part of that south part of Sherman Park and the vision of the sculpture to, if possible, to make sure that we replace that public art as part of that process, and that it's important to our community to not only take care of the necessities, but to also encourage public art. Again, in our budget, we make a nice investment in Sculpture Walk and other public art, and I think that's a big part of our community to include. So that's not a big deal. It doesn't change any money around, but it does actually, again, look at the artistic vision of that sculpture/retaining wall that's about 20 years old as it's replaced in 2019. So with that, I would move to amend the 2019 Entertainment Tax Fund budget by adding $22,000 to the Washington Pavilion budget to fund improvements to the exhibit area currently housing the South Dakota African American History Museum, and the funding to come from the Entertainment Tax Fund balance.
Second, Brecky.
All right, we have a motion by Councilor Starr, seconded by Councilor Brecky on that. discussion amongst council. Councilor Starr?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. One of the things that the Washington Pavilion is a treasure of our community and is coming up on a major milestone anniversary in the next year. And one of the things that I've noticed in my time that our family spends at the pavilion is the African American History Museum. And that is a project that the council just a couple of years ago really brought forward to make the display and the building itself to be sufficient for the museum. This small amount in a very large budget will be able to make additional improvements to upgrade the building portion where the museum is housed.
Thank you, Councilor. Discussion on this, Councilor Neitzert.
Could you just clarify where the number 22,000 came from? And it does sound like it's not to buy artifacts, it's to, are we talking like making the display? I mean,
Councilor Starr. Yes, absolutely. The number of 22,000 came for by putting together what the museum and visiting with members from the Washington Pavilion would do to upgrade the exhibit and put it in a professional stature that the museum deserves.
Okay, is there other discussion on the council?
I have a follow-up.
Councilor Erickson.
Who provided the number, though? I guess I'm confused where the 22,000 came from as far as exactly what it's going to. And who from the Washington Pavilion did you speak with?
I did speak with the president of the pavilion, Darren Smith. I also spoke with John Seitz, who's the vice president for that. Talked to people from the African American Museum, and that was a number that they had come up with. It is definitely, it's going to the pavilion. The pavilion will oversee the improvements that need to be made as part of the process so that it's used appropriately to put it in a professional stature and exhibit.
That may be.
Councilor Erickson.
I'm just struggling. I did reach out to the Washington Pavilion as well, and I'm not sure how. I know an employee was brought into the conversation, but I don't know how much dialogue was really communicated to what this is going to come up with. If it was somebody at the Washington Pavilion that gave the $22,000, and I'm also curious of what type of fundraising has been done to try to get to part of that, or are they going to match that? Oftentimes when we do a gift of some kind, there's generally some sort of a match with that, so I'd be curious about that as well.
Councilor Starr, you have any?
I do not know if they've done any fundraising. I'm not that familiar with their board. What I am familiar with is that us providing a professional-looking location in the pavilion requires that. The number is a number that I came up with because I made some estimates of what it would take to provide the updating that would be required. Right now, there's whether it's paint and there's some stain, I know, and some display work that needs to be purchased. So it's kind of a way to give them the opportunity to upgrade what they've done and how the things that are currently there are upgraded.
Mr. Mayor, if I could have another follow-up. Is there anyone from the African American History Museum here that would be able to speak to this? How about Darren? Can I ask Darren to come up and ask him a couple questions?
Darren, come on forward, please, if that's all right.
Sorry, welcome to the hot seat. I'm curious. We visit the Washington Pavilion quite a bit with my family as well, and it's somewhere we love to take our children. But I'm curious as far as there's a lot of concrete walls. There's a lot of, you can't always put in new shelving, and there's challenges with old buildings. Believe me, I know. Can you talk a little bit about what this would look like for you and what you envision?
Sure. Darren Smith, Washington Pavilion of Arts and Science. I think if we're tasked with improving the look of that space today, my sense is that we would focus in collaboration with the African American History Museum group to probably look at improving the shelving, the exhibit stands, perhaps look at a video monitor or two, a sound bar to give them that capability. As far as physical expansion, I think we'd be challenged to do that for all the reasons you mentioned. And that would probably not be our top priority immediately, but maybe something that could be looked at down the road once we all feel that the space, the fairly significant space that's already there is utilized and maximized before we would do that.
Follow up, if I can.
Yeah.
Is there open space? I'm sorry, you said it, so I just want to know. Is all the shelving space used, or is it?
Yes.
It is
The current space is, yes, there are a number of exhibits. I think we could work with that group, with some of our professional staff to help them maybe do a better job. I am encouraged. I just met with their group a week ago and met someone from the University of South Dakota, I believe the director of diversity, the director of the Diversity Center and Studies, something to that effect, who is going to be responsible moving forward for curating that exhibit area, and I think that's going to be a huge improvement. We could work closely with them to improve that in terms of how it looks today.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
I have a question too.
Councilor Staley.
Yes, thank you. So Darren, and maybe Councilor Starr can weigh in, but are you thinking about moving the actual location where this is at presently?
We're not.
Is this $22,000 going to be used to just add to what's already there?
Well, Counselor, one thing I want to make clear, and I think you guys probably know this, but when the African American Museum space was first created, and that was a number of years ago. I don't remember the exact year. I think I was on the city council when that took place, and that was through a budget amendment as well. The deal then, and has continued to be, that the city would pay for the physical improvements to create the space. The African American Museum folks would take care of everything in that space. The pavilion's responsibility really exclusively would be to maintain a safe and secure environment that those exhibits would be in. That's the relationship that we've had since that time. It's probably 15 years, give or take. So I don't know if that answers the question, Counselor. We were approached, Counselor Starr, we were approached with this idea of, are there ways to improve it? And so we're happy to work with any and all groups in any way to improve everything in the facility, including this space. And if that's the council's wishes and a priority, we'll execute those and enjoy doing it.
Thanks, Darren. Yeah, Councilor Kiley. Do you have a follow-up, Councilor Staley?
Well, I do in the sense that I guess for $22,000, I have a desire to have a little more definition as to what exactly is going to be coming out of that. What would that be used for? So I'm almost thinking about making an amendment to lower that to like $10,000. At which I don't know when would I say that?
You could make an amendment on the amendment.
At any time?
At any time.
Okay, I'm going to make, I want to make a motion to amend this Councilor Starr's amendment to $10,000.
All right, motion by Councilor Staley to amend that to $10,000. Do we have a second on that?
Second, Erickson.
Seconded by Erickson. Discussion on that. Councilor Kiley.
And my question, thank you, Councilor Staley. Darren, if you would stay there, please. Is very similar to Councilor Staley's. So the $22,000 request did not come from you or from your staff. From what I understand, Councilor Starr came up with the estimate. So could you be more specific as what you could do for $22,000 $2,000 to improve this exhibit?
Well, I would start by saying, and I've learned over the years to be very careful making a statement like the one I'm about to make, but I'm very confident
Sorry
doing
to
this.
put you in that
No,
position.
that's fine. It's, honestly, I have a hard time believing we could make the types of improvements we're talking about making for anywhere near $22,000. I think it would be far less than that. That's just my sense. Now, again, if Councilor Starr's got more specific ideas and estimates and so forth, I'm going to defer to him on that. But in terms of if we're not talking about expanding physical space, we're not talking about purchasing artifacts or sculptures and those types of things. Really what you'd be looking at would be shelving, improved shelving perhaps, maybe more professional exhibit stands. Again, perhaps a video monitor or two with an attached sound bar to give them audio video capabilities. I know there's electricity to those areas already. I don't think we'd have additional electricity needs. So I think what we're talking about would be most likely significantly less than $22,000. To give you an exact amount, honestly, I can't do that tonight because
no, that's fine.
If there were an up to amount, if that's the wishes of the council, I think it's fair to say we could easily stay within a $10,000 amount and improve the look.
Darren, thanks. We have an amended amendment on the floor for $10,000.
Yeah, I wanted to, if
Starr.
I can address the amendment.
Sure.
The reason that we were originally I didn't want to get this deep into it because I didn't think it was going to be that much, and I should know better than that. Where I came up with the numbers and where we were looking at is the time that I've been serving on the old Courthouse Museum Board and looking at what they spend to do exhibits and using their exhibit staff of what it would take, and at the same time being able to look at Mr. Smith's staff as well of their exhibit time and the things that were there, and trying to pick a number that wasn't outrageous but was enough that could make a significant impact in what the museum looks like, how it would be used by members of the community. We spent a lot of time there. My daughter was in a Dapper performance and really learned a lot about the African American history and contributions to our city and our state that are part of that. And so that's where the number came from, is that, again, a not to exceed number, but enough that it would make some substantial improvements into what they're doing. And if it could be done for 10, I'd be fine with that, but I don't want them to be limited, and we've spent a lot of time on getting to this part out of a very large budget. So I'm going to oppose the 10,000.
Thank you, Councilor Starr. Councilor Staley?
Well, yes, and I'm going to say, start with 10,000 because I heard Darren Smith say having it up to that amount of money to spend, and I would say if they get into it and do that, we can always look at adding more funding to it down the road.
All right, is there
any my final pitch.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion on the amended amendment? If not, I'd ask for a vote on the amended amendment.
Yes, Councilmember Selberg.
Let me be clear. So we're voting on the 10?
This is the amendment to the amendment, so it would be to change it to 10.
Yep.
Yes.
Sale?
No.
Starr?
No.
Staley?
Yes.
Brecky?
No.
Erickson?
Yes.
Kiley?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
All right. That passes 5-3.
And so just a vote on the amendment.
And so now I need a vote on the amendment as amended, or discussion on that, further discussion on that.
Awesome.
Councilor Erickson.
I appreciate the passion behind the amendment, and I know we're not talking about a lot of funding. I would also like to even challenge to think it's probably already existing in the pavilion budget somewhere. We're talking about $10,000, and so if the shelving needs to be cleaned up or improved, I really trust that the Washington Pavilion would do that. And so for those reasons, I can't support this at this time.
Other discussion, councilors? Okay, if not, then I would ask for a roll call vote on the amendment as amended.
Councilmember Selberg,
Yes.
Sale,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Staley,
Yes.
Brecky,
Yes.
Erickson,
No.
Kylie,
Yes.
Nitzert.
No.
That passes 6-2. So we're now back to the discussion on the main motion as amended on the budget. Other discussion, councilors?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Councilor Starr.
I would move to amend the 2019 General Fund Parks and Recreation budget by $50,000 to fund planting of trees. Funding to come from the Parks and Recreation budget 2019 operating budget.
Second, Brecky.
All right, a motion by Councilor Starr on that amendment, seconded by Councilor Brecky. Discussion on that, Councilor Starr.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. One of the things that, the reason I brought this forward is that we've spent a lot of time talking about cutting trees down as part of the emerald ash borer concerns. And I understand that the Parks Department has a limited amount of time and the things that they can do, and their focus for 2019 is removing trees. And I really wanted to bring this tonight to drive the point home how important it is to replace those trees and whether or not we can do that. There is the opportunity, again, it's a number that we were able to find in the current parks budget for that would have been included in the master plan study that they were proposing with 2018 dollars, and then there were additional money that was left in the 19 budget that hadn't been removed as part of that process. So what I want to do is make sure that our community that one of the things getting prepared for the emerald ash borer is the Parks Department has done a good job of showing us what happens if we don't get ahead of this, whether it's some of the pictures from Minneapolis versus what St. Paul did, I think were an example that really stood out. And I wanted to make sure that as part of the 2019 budget that we did a good job of also replacing the trees that we're cutting down or starting that process and not waiting any longer to do that. So that this body would really come together to plant trees as well as removing them. So,
thank you, Councilor Starr. Councilor Nitzert.
Can you clarify, are we talking about on public property such as just in parks, or are we talking about the right-of-way? Where are you thinking?
Councilor Starr.
Well, again, I think it would go as part of the current park budget for replacement trees, whether it's parks or wherever they see fit. One of the things that I appreciate about the process that we've done this year is that we have not specifically said where to make cuts or how to make those cuts, but to give the director the ability to do that and to come up with that plan that would best fit the department and the community as well. That we didn't dive that deep into it.
Mr. Mayor, if I could
Councilor Nitzert,
follow up.
you bet.
I guess I'd be curious from the park operations. Well, what was the plan for trees, as it stands today, as far as planting any trees, and what do you have for FTE or, as far as the mobilization to do something? Because it's one thing to buy the trees, it's another to plant them.
That's a good point. And Councilor Starr, appreciate your support for tree planting in our community. It's obviously going to be a very vital aspect of the reforestation with all the removals that we have ahead of us. And so again, we appreciate your support for that. This fall, our team kind of has this separate subcommittee that's working on the reforestation plan. TJ, several other representatives from the city, along with our Parks and Rec forestry team are involved in that. And we're trying to put together a collaborative effort where we would try to leverage the private sector to help us with that reforestation effort. And we would hope that, really the ramping up of this reforestation effort would really launch in 2020 versus 2019. So again, we really appreciate the support for the additional tree planting dollars. But a few other things to keep in mind. In order to be able to replant, we have to have removals and space to be able to plant those trees. And so we're going to be embarking on that in 2019. And the reason why that's important is that because if these small trees go in where larger trees are currently at, they're going to be fighting for water, nutrients, sunlight to be able to flourish and thrive. And so we're all on the same page, Councilor Starr, I think, that we need to have a reforestation plan. We're working that plan, and we'd love to be able to come back to you later this year with a more specific orchestrated plan that we'll be able to roll out not only on the park reforestation, but also on the street tree reforestation.
Thank you, Don. Councilor Sale.
Could I ask the clerk to read the motion that we're discussing? Has a motion been made?
It has been. I have it here. It's a motion by Councilor Starr to amend the 2019 General Fund Parks and Rec budget by $50,000 to fund planting of trees, funding to come from the Parks and Rec 2019 operating budget.
Okay, I'd like to speak just a minute on this, and I love a good tree just as good as anybody else does, Councilor Starr. But we've spent a lot of hours sitting in here listening to the parks people tell us about their plans, a 10-year plan, $11 million, and I would defer to them. If it's not part of their plan, I don't want to upset it. I think they've taken a very aggressive approach to replant that. So I would say if this comes forward next year and they need they need more resources than they currently have, I would certainly support it. But this time I'm just willing to let them go ahead with their current plan.
Thank you, Councilor Staley.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor Staley.
Oh, is Director Kearney still up there?
He is, you bet.
Okay, so I got a question about the city replanting trees on the boulevard, because I thought I heard him say that. It was my understanding the homeowner is going to be buying plants for the boulevard, the trees.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that question.
Question about whose responsibility is the replanting of the trees in the boulevard, the city or the
Who's going to pay? Well, who will pay for the tree?
Yeah, well, there are a couple different options. One of the things that a homeowner can do is they can get a tree planting permit from us. Kelby will be up here talking about ordinance changes that will require that tree planting permit. Property owners, as long as they use the approved street tree list, they'll be able to plant those on their own. But we do think it's important to encourage tree planting to come up with a program that would help do a partnership with our private property owners to plant in the boulevards to be able to reforest Sioux Falls. And so we found that if there is no skin in the game on the private property owner's standpoint, the care and maintenance of those trees really doesn't rise to the level like we'd see it. And so we are working on that plan, and that's the plan that we are working on as a group, a EAB working group, and we plan to roll that out to the council and share that with you and get your feedback on that.
Thank you, Don.
So excuse me. So we're saying that the city may be paying for the tree that's going in the boulevard in front of a citizen's home.
Just to clarify, there's two options. If a private property owner wants to follow the process for replanting in the right-of-way, they can do that. If one of the things that we're planning to roll out is a reforestation plan, and one of the things that we've talked about is incorporating a cost-share program where the city would participate with the private property owner to plant a tree subject to the requirements that we have for planting in the right-of-way.
Okay. And let me also say, Don, we had a conversation yesterday, and just so the public understands that the 211 Center is going to be handling all the ash tree borer issues. That I think we just need to say that. Call 211 citizens if you got questions.
Yeah, they are additional resource that we've capitalized on.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Steele. Thank you, Don. Councilor Erickson.
One question for Don or whoever on your team you'd like to answer it. Can you talk a little bit about the public-private partnership for reforestation? I know we own many properties in the core area that really my company should be maybe giving. I don't know if there's a fund or what that looks like, but that would be a way to really partner together to make a larger impact. I mean, I know it's important to a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. We are trying to make that a process that's going to be very easy for citizens, businesses, corporations, nonprofits, service clubs to really be involved and engaged in the whole reforestation effort. And we want to capitalize on the private investment as much as we possibly can.
Thank you. I'll be in touch.
Councilor Kiley.
Thank you. I will point out too that the tree planting permit is free of charge to the resident.
That's correct.
Okay. And I would just like to echo what Councilor Sale had commented on earlier when we had this presented to us a number of times now this year, that I thought it was a very well thought out plan, and I think it's a plan that's worth sticking to. So I will oppose this amendment this evening.
Thank you, Councilor.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Starr.
I'd like to move to withdraw this amendment.
Okay. Motion by Councilor Starr to withdraw the second, seconded by Councilor Selberg. Discussion on that? Okay. Can I have a vote on that, please?
Councilmember Selberg?
Yes.
Sale?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Brecky?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Kiley?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
All right, that motion, or that amendment, excuse me, has been withdrawn, and we're back to a discussion on the main motion for item 38 as amended. Further discussion on that. Councilor Sale.
Yes, I'd just like to take a minute to discuss the budget process that we've gone through. A $498 million budget, that's a whopper. That is a whopper. 4.3% growth anticipated over last year. And I am very hesitant to approve something like this without hard statistical data, but I don't have anything to tell me it's not going to happen. So even as hesitant as I am to approve such a large increase, I'm going to go ahead and defer to the people in City Hall that they believe it's going to happen. The data presented earlier today shows us that it's going to happen, but there's no predicting of the future. And we're looking out 14, 16 months from now to see this is going to happen. I will be here if things go wrong and we have to make adjustments. And let's hope we don't have to do that. But I would just like to, since all the department heads are here, when things, if God forbid they go south, we'll be here to support you to make the changes we need to make this city continue to grow. But 4.3% growth is a lot considering where we've been, and $498 million is a huge, huge budget. I will support this amendment, support the budget.
Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Councilor Sale. Councilor Staley.
Yeah, now, is it I thought it was 489 million, but nonetheless, it's a big number. What I want to say is that I echo Councilor Erickson's earlier comments about what we've been doing the month of August. We've been listening to the presentations on the budget, and I don't think the public's aware of the fact that initially the way it's been done is that the mayor's administration and the department heads put things together, and then they bring it to us in August and unveil it, and then we look at it and listen to it, and then we try to make adjustments as we just did tonight. We did have 2 working sessions where the council comes together and talks about ideas, and I have talked with some of my colleagues about the idea that we can get together in a month or 2 and start brainstorming about things we'd like to see in the budget, getting ahead of it before it gets formulated. And we are hearing from citizens, we're hearing concerns, we are developing priorities within the council, and I'm excited about the prospect of us working together more closely with the department heads, with the mayor and his staff early on, so that some of these things can be mixed in and addressed as it's coming into its formation. And that would be a very satisfying experience for us on the council and for the citizens as a whole.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Selberg?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick word, to my fellow councilors for your efforts on the budget process and for the amendments tonight and all the work. It is a long road every year, that's for sure. Just wanted to throw out our thanks to the administration for the way you've reached out this year. It was welcome and maybe a little different than what we're used to the last couple of years. The gesture was well appreciated. And then a quick shout out, I'd say, to Tom for stepping up this year, and one more to our budget analyst, Mr. Bixler, who he does a lot of work for us behind the scenes without a lot of kudos, and does a good job smartening us up in a lot of areas where it's needed when it's needed. So anyways, a lot of people put in a lot of work, and every year you're kind of reminded just how much goes into this. So anyway.
Thank you, Counselor. And Counselor Kiley.
Thank you very much. I also believe that a budget based on an over 4% increase is rather ambitious, especially considering it was set at 1% last year. Quite frankly, I would have set that at 0%. I'm a little bit more conservative that way. You know, when you also think that we are just an embargo away from really having devastating effects on our ag economy. But I also trust the administration and the people and your directors and staff that, like the previous administration, can identify cuts that are needed and where they're prudent, that can be made and implemented if the economy does go south on us. So I will be voting affirmative on this. And I guess with this economy the way it is, I don't know. Maybe I need to keep my fingers crossed or not. I hope not. But I will be voting for this.
Other discussion, councilors? All right. Seeing none, I'd ask for a roll call vote on the motion as it's been amended.
Councilmember Selberg?
Yes.
Sale?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Brecky?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Kiley?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
All right, that passes 8-0. I too want to thank the council for the great work on this. I'm learning a little bit too as we get through this process, so continue to look for a more collaborative way we approach the budget, and to specifically Tom Huber, who's filling an interim city finance director role right now. Thanks for your lift on everything also. Next item, please.
Item 27, second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, providing appropriations, authorizing an increase in property tax revenue pursuant to SDCL 10-13-15, and the means of financing for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2019.
Tom Huber again with the Finance Office. This establishes the legal level of spending for the governmental or tax-supported funds, which would need to be amended to reflect the amendments that were just passed on the budget. The ordinance also establishes the annual property tax levy, which includes the 2.1% or 1.3 million state certified CPI inflationary adjustment plus growth.
Thanks, Tom. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak on this item? Councilors, questions for Tom on this? Okay.
Move approval.
Move to approve by Selberg, seconded by Erickson. Any discussion, council?
Mr. Mayor, can I make a motion to amend to reflect the changes to the resolution adopting the budget and the capital program?
Okay.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Erickson and seconded by Councilor Selberg. Do we have any discussion on that? If not, I vote on that amendment, please.
Hold on, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Councilor Staley.
So then we say to the public that in order to support this budget we just passed, we've got to increase their property taxes. Is that what I'm hearing?
Tom, can you speak to this item, please, for Councilor Staley? Councilor Staley, can you repeat your question for Tom? He's back.
In order to support the budget we just passed, we've got to increase the property taxes for our citizens.
The budget and this appropriation ordinance reflect growth for property taxes as well as the inflationary increase to property taxes, which is state certified. It's based on the CPIW every year. It's 2 years trailing, but it's the inflationary adjustment to the budget.
But let's just say that some miracle happened and we all voted against this property tax increase. Then how would that affect the budget?
Your budget would be $1.3 million short of revenue.
So you'd have to make an adjustment. Okay,
Right.
thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Any other questions for Tom on this? Okay. If not, I need a vote on the amendment that's on the floor, please.
Councilmember Selberg?
Yes.
Sale?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
No.
Brecky?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Kiley?
Yes.
Nitzert.
Yes.
All right, that passes 7-1. So now we have an amended motion on the floor. Discussion on that.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Nitzert.
Yeah, let me just say straight out that I don't enjoy ever increasing the tax. I don't think anybody probably does, but there's a couple of things that have to be understood, and when you have to look at this responsibly, because I'd love to say I'll never vote to raise your taxes, but the city is not immune from inflationary pressures. We don't exist in a vacuum. Everything continues to rise, costs continue to rise, and to provide those services, we have to keep pace with that. And the other thing is if you look at the compounding effect, compounding has a way of doing incredible things for you, but it can do it in a good or a bad way, depending on what you do. And in this particular case, if we were to forego those inflationary increases, it's going to bite us big time down the road, because that little increase compounds over the years. And then there's going to be, either we'll be very short years from now, or we will be looking at some very tough cuts, or some shock of an increase that people won't like. So as much as I don't like it, as a grown-up, I need to support this.
Thank you, Councilor.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilor Staley.
Yes, and I am also a grown-up, but I also know that it's about priorities, and if you have, a little less money to work with, then you make different priorities within your budget. So that's just to let the citizens know that we don't always have to raise a tax just because we can. We don't always have to raise a fee just because we can, and that we're trying to keep things affordable for all people, affordable quality of life.
Thank you, Councilor. Other discussion amongst the council? Councilor Starr.
Yes. The compounding works the same way for our citizens. It's people on fixed incomes, and without making a moronic comment, we're taking and taxing people right out of their homes because we could have looked for that place for $1.3 million, and we didn't even make an attempt to do that. We just assumed that we were going to raise this tax. And we're right, by making small adjustments every year, that the same way it benefits the city in increased revenue, it also hurts our citizens by taking that amount of money from them each year. And it adds up and it compounds over time, where we've seen citizens in the last weeks when we've looked at the assessment rolls. I don't know about the rest of you, but I've talked to several citizens who are being taxed right out of their homes because they can't afford to put a new roof on their house that they've paid for. They can't afford the assessments that go with fixing their sidewalks. And whether we continue to add a couple of dollars here and a couple of dollars there, I got a call today from a citizen who was talking about their water and sewer rates have doubled over the last 10 years. So we do need to take it seriously, and we do need to make sure that we look at every penny that we can, that we aren't compounding people right out of their houses. And I think the grown-up thing is to make sure that we squeeze each nickel that we have and when we go through the budget process. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other discussion? If not, I'd ask for a vote on the amended motion, please.
Councilmember Selberg?
Yes.
Sale?
Yes.
Starr? No. Staley?
No.
Brecky?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
That item passes 6-2. Next item, please.
Item 28, second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the Code of Ordinances of the city by amending Section 94.038, planting in public rights-of-way.
Kelby, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Kelby Maris with Parks and Recreation. This ordinance would require the permit to plant trees in the right-of-way. It adds to a list of rules that we have for planting in the right-of-way and actually brings this permit back. This permit would not have any cost associated with it for the abutting property owner. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thanks, Kelby. Anyone from the public wish to speak on this? Councilors, questions for Kelby? Okay. If not, can I get a motion on this item?
Move for approval.
Second.
Move to approve by Brecky, seconded by Selberg. Any further discussion? Councilor Staley.
Staley here. Is Kelby still up there?
He is.
Okay. So Kelby, just once again, my concern, because we're talking about cutting these ash trees down, we heard that they're going to be putting the number 9 on these trees in a certain designated area of our city. So just, if you tell the citizens who happen to be watching what the city is going to do to help the homeowners know how to communicate to the city their desire to have their trees treated. That if they're going to do it themselves or if they've had an arborist hired, that they tell them how they're going to be notified if it's their area to have that number 9 sprayed on their tree. Because if some guy is planning to treat his tree, his beloved ash tree, and the city comes and puts a 9 on it, we're going to have a very disgruntled resident. So tell them what.
And again, Counselor, this is related to specifically diversify the trees planted in the boulevard. So
yeah, I understand, but this is still. Do you want me to ask when we're talking about the next one?
Well, I want to
the
keep
planting
the questions related to
trees
this specific ordinance, if we could.
I understand, but I think just let them know that. Well, I'll tell them what Don Kearney said. They're going to be sending out postcards and giving people ample time to notification if their tree is before it gets the number 9 painted on it.
Right, and this
So
ordinance
hopefully,
to require.
just so people understand that.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there other discussion, Counselor? If not, I'd ask for a vote on this item, please.
Councilmember Selberg?
Yes.
Sale?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Brecky?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
Passes 8-0. Item 29, please.
Second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the Code of Ordinances of the city by adding Section 94.019, planting of ash trees prohibited.
Move for approval.
Second, Erickson.
Motion to approve by Councilor Brecky, seconded by Erickson. Before that, I need to ask if there's anyone from the public that wishes to speak on this. All right. If not, discussion, council, on this item. If not, I'd ask for a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Selberg?
Yes.
Sale?
Yes.
Starr? Yes. Staley?
Yes.
Brecky?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
That passes 8-0. Item 30.
Second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the Code of Ordinances of the city by amending Section 110.027, licenses issued by Parks, Recreation, and Forestry Department.
We're going to make you speak on this one.
Thank you. This proposed ordinance would increase the amount for the initial issue of an arborist license and also increase the annual renewal fee of an arborist license, bring it more in line with other professional licenses within the city. Also, this best of our research shows this rate has not changed since 1992.
Thanks, Kelby. Anyone from the public wish to speak on this item?
Move to approve, Erickson.
Second.
Motion approved by Erickson, seconded by Brecky. Discussion on this, council?
I would like to make an amendment to this.
Okay.
And so, we've got two different. We got the application and the annual license fee. Are these are being handled as a package here?
Correct. It's one motion. That would.
So I'd like to make a motion that we take the application fee, because right now it's $35 and they're jacking it up to $150. I'd like to move that we put that at $100, and then I'd like to take the annual license fee, which is currently at $17.50, and I'd like to move that to $50. That's a motion I'm making.
All right. There's a motion to move the arborist licensing fee from $35 to $100 and the annual renewal fee from $17.50 to $50. Do I have a second for that? That amendment fails for lack of a second, so we're back to the original motion. Is there any further discussion on that motion?
Yes, if I could say something.
You can.
Yes, because jumping, just so the public knows, I mean, the fee was $35, and we're jumping it up to $150, and then going from the license fee from $17.50 to $100 to me is just that is too high of a jump. So that's why I tried to meet in the middle somewhat to make it more reasonable.
Thank you, Counselor. Further discussion? Counselor Brecky?
I would just respond. I think it's one of those fees that we didn't do anything with for so many years that it just got way behind. And so that's why it's kind of like we talked about compounding. If you don't keep up with it, then all of a sudden you have kind of a dramatic change. But it is in keeping, it was explained to us that it is in keeping with, you know, all of our other fee structures. It's very, very similar.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Kiley.
And I would just echo that. This is, in my opinion, not going to put any arborists out of business.
Thank you, Counselor.
You can barely trim a tree for $150, let alone cut down a tree, which can be in the thousands depending on the tree. So I'll be supporting this amendment.
Any further discussion, Council? If not, I'd ask for a vote on that, please.
Councilmember Selberg?
Yes.
Sale?
Yes.
Starr? Yes. Staley?
No.
Brecky?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Kiley?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
That passes 7-1. Next item, please.
Item 31, second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the Code of Ordinances of the city by adding Section 94.002, transportation of ash wood prohibited.
Hey, Kelby.
Good evening. Yes, this ordinance would prohibit the movement of ash wood between Memorial Day and Labor Day. The reason behind this ordinance would be to limit the human aid of spreading the infestation of the emerald ash borer. Memorial Day to Labor Day is the time period in which the adult beetles are active.
Thanks, Kelby. Anyone from the public wish to speak on this item? Yes, sir. Come forward, please.
I just got one question. Is that going to be for everybody? Is that going to be for the developers? Is that going to be for the, if they're moving trees out of a development to make room for houses or buildings and whatnot, is that for everybody? Not just for homeowners?
Kelby, would you mind answering that question, please?
Absolutely. This ordinance does allow for the director to approve a permit for moving ash wood between Memorial Day and Labor Day for items such as public safety and lane clearance, of course, and storm damage. Of course, if we have storm damage that happens between Memorial Day and Labor Day, like we did this year, that wood waste would have to be transported to its disposal site. Line clearance is another example of where we would likely permit the movement of ash wood. Making sure that our power grid stays safe is another life safety issue for us. So there are situations in which permitting process would allow the movement, but we would like to limit those as much as we can.
Thanks, Kelby.
Mr. Mayor, if I have a question for Mr. Maris.
Yeah, you bet.
So what happens if a homeowner cuts down their ash tree from the east side where I'm at and drives across town and gets to the landfill and they're ready to dispose of it? We're not going to send them back across town, or, I mean, is there a penalty then, or what do we do to, you know, they made a good faith effort and for whatever reason didn't know about emerald ash borers. They're not as fortunate as I am to have the knowledge that you shared with me over the years. What's going to happen when they show up at the landfill?
Well, the landfill, of course, will accept the wood waste because that would be appropriate. There is also an opportunity for a citation at that point. For a violation of the ordinance. We really don't want to get to that point, of course. More of a public education piece, and you know, South Dakotans are good neighbors, and asking people to be good neighbors and making sure that we do the best we can to maintain the infestation where it's at.
Move to approve.
Motion approved by Brecky, seconded by Kiley. Further discussion, Council, on this? If not, I'd ask for a vote on this item, please.
Councilmember Selberg?
Yes.
Dale?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Brecky?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Kiley?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
That item passes 8-0. Item 32.
Set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, October 2nd, 2018 at 7 p.m. for item 32. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the 2008 subdivision regulations of the City of Sioux Falls by amending Chapter 157 subdivisions. The Planning Commission recommends approval 5-0.
Hey, Jeff.
Hello.
Good evening, Jeffrey Schmidt, representing planning staff on this item and others. This is the subdivision ordinance. It's a major ordinance for the city of Sioux Falls. We brought this forward to you at informational a couple of weeks ago, and it is an amendment to basically look at platting, not fees, but platting, as well as preliminary plans and development engineering plans.
Thanks, Jeff. Anyone from the public wish to speak on this item? Councilors, questions for Jeff on this?
Move to approve.
Second.
Move to approve by Kiley, seconded by Selberg. Any discussion, council? If not, a vote on this item, please.
Councilmember Selberg?
Yes.
Sale?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Brecky?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
That's passed 8-0. Item 33.
Set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, October 2nd, 2018 at 7 p.m. for item 33. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property located at 3800 West Tickman Street from the RA2 Apartment Residential Moderate Density District to the I-1 Light Industrial District, number 9122-2018, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 5-0.
This property is 2.5 acres. The other properties up in this area are I-1 light industrial, and you can see it's currently zoned RA. They would like to zone it to I-1 to have it appropriate with the other industrial properties up in this area.
Thank you, Jeff. Anyone from the public here to speak on this item tonight? Questions for Jeff on this item, council? If not, I'd look for a motion to set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, October 2 on this item.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay. A motion by Kiley, seconded by Sale to set that date. Can I have a vote on that, please?
Councilmember Selberg?
Yes.
Sale?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Brecky?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
That passes 8-0. Item 34.
Set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, October 2nd, 2018 at 7 p.m. for item 34. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property located at 5702 South Marion Road from the C2 Commercial Neighborhood and Streetcar District to the RA2 Apartment Residential Moderate Density District, number 9062-2018, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 5-0.
This property is about 2 acres. It's in the southwest part of town. The other properties in the area are apartments, RA, and so they would like to transition from their commercial property to the north to apartments and get another apartment complex in as they transition to the south.
Thank you, Jeff. Anyone from the public here to speak on this item? If not, council, questions for Jeff on this item? Okay, can we have a motion to set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, October 2?
So moved, Erickson.
Second, Selberg.
Moved by Councilor Erickson, seconded by Selberg. Any discussion, council? If not, a vote on that, please.
Councilmember Selberg?
Yes.
Sale?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Brecky?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
Passes 8-0. Item 35.
Set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, October 2nd, 2018 at 7 p.m. for item 35. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property located at 133 North Trapp Avenue from the RT1 Single Family Residential Traditional District to the RT2 Townhome Residential Traditional District, number 9040-2018, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 5-0.
This is in the core. This is an existing home structure. It is currently zoned RT1, which is Residential Traditional 1, and they have actually a duplex in there. So when the property owner came into us, we agreed with them to change it from a single-family home to a duplex. They post the signs. We do not charge them a fee, and then we bring it forward to the public hearing to make it from RT1 to RT2.
Thank you, Jeff. Anyone from the public here to speak on this item? Councilors, questions for Jeff?
Move to approve.
Second, Erickson.
Okay, that's a motion to set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, October 2 by Councilor Kiley, seconded by Erickson. Any discussion? A vote on that, please.
Councilmember Selberg?
Yes.
Sale?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Brecky?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yep.
Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
That passes 8-0. Item 36.
Set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, October 2nd, 2018 at 7 p.m. for item 36. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota rezoning property located at the northwest corner of East 57th Street and South Dubuque Avenue from the LW Live Work and C2 Commercial Neighborhood and Streetcar Districts to the O Office District number 8944-2018 and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 5-0.
This is a 5-acre site just north of 57th Street. Everything else in the area is office, but they did have it zoned commercial just in case they wanted to do commercial. They would rather go forward with the market and have it zoned office, so they're moving forward with an office zoning property.
Thanks, Jeff. Anyone from the public here to speak on this item? Councilors, questions for Jeff on this item? If not, I'd look for a motion to set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, October 2.
So moved, Erickson.
Second.
Moved by Erickson, seconded by Kylie. Any discussion? A vote on this, please.
Councilmember Selberg.
Yes.
Sale.
Yes.
Starr.
Yes.
Staley.
Yes.
Brecky.
Yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
Neitzer.
Yes.
That passes 8-0. Item 37.
Set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, October 2nd, 2018 at 7 p.m. for item 37. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, authorizing the mayor to enter into a lease agreement for the City of Sioux Falls, Raven Industries Incorporated parking facility between the City of Sioux Falls and Raven Industries Incorporated.
Hi, Don.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Don Kearney with Parks and Recreation. I appreciate the opportunity to present this Raven parking lease to you tonight. And before I get started, though, I would like to recognize Danny Brown, who's Assistant City Attorney, has helped us on this project, as well as Beth Ebert, who represents Raven Industries. She's in the audience tonight in case there are questions of her. So to start out with a little background, back in 2004, the city and Raven Industries agreed to exchange property, and Raven received excess city wellfield property north of town, and the city ultimately received the property on the corner of 6th and Phillips, which was their former Raven Training Center and our Parks and Recreation headquarters up until this past summer. The property exchange agreement went into effect, and the exchange approved by the City Council and executed in May of 2004. The properties that were exchanged are shown on this map. The one on the top left with the red box is the property that Raven received from the city at approximately 254th Street and South Dakota Highway 115. And then the lower triangular shaped parcel is the property the city received on the corner of 6th and Phillips. And the Raven Innovation Campus is currently on the site that you see there on the top of the slide. So some of the key conditions of that property exchange included that the city would lease 75 parking spaces for 99 years in a parking lot that ultimately would be constructed by the city as part of the renovations to that corner, including the renovations to the Raven building at the time. One of the criteria was that the city, as part of that agreement, would maintain the lighting and the utility costs associated with that lighting. The lease of the spaces was for a one-time payment of $1, and then the other consideration was that Raven would be required to maintain the lot in its entirety, including snow removal, surface maintenance, reconstruction as needed, cleaning and trash removal, crack sealing, striping, those typical things that would be required of a parking lot over time during the term of that lease. Some of the other key conditions included that the parties agreed that the city would, subject to City Council approval, grant Raven a 99-year lease for parking purposes. In our records, we were unable to find a lease that had been recorded and approved by the City Council back in 2004 when that was originally contemplated in the exchange agreement. So where does that put us at today? This issue really came to light when we were planning for the reconstruction of the north end of the parking lot at that site. As part of the Levitt Shell construction project, we have a loading dock on the back side of the Levitt Shell, and we needed to reconfigure the parking turning radiuses to allow tour buses and other trucks and things like that would back up to the loading dock on the back side of the Levitt Shell. And in order to do that, we're going to have to modify some parking spaces and then also our staging area for construction that's currently going on would affect some of the spaces that Raven currently occupied and had exclusive rights to. So in the process of working with Raven, we dug into this a little deeper, looked for the actual lease, and found that there was not actually a lease that was ever presented to the City Council for approval. So we're here before you tonight to try to fix that. So in the interim, we entered into a one-year agreement just to allow us to be able to have time to resolve it. Working with Beth and Danny, Erica, and several others in the city, we've come to an agreement on a revised parking lease, and that both Raven and the city support before you tonight. So the terms of the proposed lease, knowing what we know now, is that it would be a 40-year lease. And the reason it's a 40-year lease versus a 99-year lease is that Danny's advised that the lease for parking purposes cannot exceed 40 years per state law. And the Raven would again be leasing 75 spaces for their use Monday through Friday from 5 a.m. to 6 p.m. The good thing about this lease, the way it's structured, is that we have the ability to use it for public purposes after hours. And I would say generally Raven Industries has been a great community partner on providing parking after hours for a variety of events, whether it's Hot Harley Nights or German Fest or any other parades and picnic or parades that happen on the downtown area. They've just been very cooperative and appreciate that. Raven may sublease these spaces in the agreement upon prior written consent of the city during those same hours. And any fees charged for subleasing spaces shall not exceed the fees set by city ordinance. City ordinance sets a maximum amount that you can charge for parking, and this lease would require that Raven would not be able to charge any more than what the city can charge. There are a couple termination clauses in there that are triggers, I should say. If the city should sell the property, the lease could be terminated, and if Raven ceases to use the property for parking, it could also be terminated. So to close, I would just share a visual of what that site used to look like before redevelopment. Obviously, it looks a lot different than it does in that picture than it does now, and it will continue to redevelop with the Sioux Steel announcements, the Levitt Shell development, hopefully someday a River Greenway, Phase 3 development, the Cascades project, and so we've come a long ways, and with this project that we have with Raven, they've been a great downtown anchor for us, and a great community partner, and this really, we think, fits the spirit and intent of the original agreement that we entered into. It's just an oversight on everyone's part that the actual lease didn't get presented to the city council. So the Raven team and the city team are glad to answer any questions you might have.
Don, thanks. It's a complicated issue, and I appreciate you with the good clarification. First off, anyone from the public wish to speak on this item? Yes, welcome.
Good evening, City Councilors.
Good evening.
Mayor, Attorney Koistra. My name is Elizabeth Ebert. I'm legal counsel for Raven Industries. I go by Beth. And first, thank you for your time and attention to this agenda item this evening. And thank you to Karen Leonard and Danny Brown with the City Attorney's Office helping us understand what happened there 14 years ago. So an additional background information on this is that both parties, Raven and the city, had been behaving as though this lease was in place, that Raven had been on that property, maintaining it, posting the signs, using it as indicated in the proposed lease for the last 14 years. And so really what it appeared to be that in light of these signed agreements with the exchange of property, the addendum to the exchange of property, that this was simply an oversight as indicated by Don, that the parties had been behaving as though it existed, and that this is a lease to simply clear up the paper trail of what the understanding between the parties was. I understand that both Raven and the city have been longtime partners in various projects. Raven enjoys being a good tenant of the city and a good partner moving forward. So I'll be here tonight for any questions the councilors may have, along with October 2nd, and I respectfully request that you pass this ordinance tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. Councilors, is there any questions? Well, first off, any other public input on this item? Councilors, any questions for Beth or for Don? Start with Councilor Neitzer.
Yeah, pursuant to this lease, as far as the business hours parking goes, who is responsible for enforcing, let's say somebody that is not an employee of Raven parks there? Who enforces that? And what is the enforcement mechanism?
Danny Brown from the City Attorney's Office. Raven would enforce their own parking. It would just be a civil complaint. Someone's parked there that's not supposed to be there. They could handle it themselves, potentially tow the vehicle. They could contact law enforcement and make a report that someone's parked on private property illegally. So they've got different avenues that they could look into.
Okay, so it's no different than anybody else parking on a property without permission.
That's correct.
Okay, thanks.
Councilor Shelberg.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So it does, yeah, it seems kind of confusing, but did I break this down correctly? So they pay the city for the lease of the spots. They have complete responsibility for the upkeep of the property. City still has access to the property at certain times, and nothing changes in how it's been going on there for the last however many years.
Yeah, we're just trying to memorialize what we've been doing for the last 14 years and just trying to make it all official.
Okay, thank you.
Councilors, other questions?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilor Staley, did you have a question?
I do have a question. I'm just curious. It says that we're exchanging property. So is that property, is the parking lot, is it on the property where the former park department was?
Just to clarify, the property exchange has already occurred, and so the space that we would be leasing spaces to Raven for is on property that's owned by the city, and so there is no further property exchange that's already occurred back in 2004.
So this has nothing to do with the property exchange itself. This is something beyond that.
Yes, there was supposed to be a lease that was entered into following the property exchange, and it was just an oversight on everyone's part that it never actually got presented to the city council at that time. So the property exchange.
Right, but the property exchange, however, that in its that triangular thing that we see, that doesn't have the parking on it.
Yes, it does.
So if we exchange that, does that mean that forever we have exchanged these properties?
We exchanged them back in 2004.
But that means they own the property shown in the red box.
That's correct.
And we own the property in the triangular area.
That's correct.
And so we're giving them the lease just like we would give anybody else a lease.
Yes.
Right, not because we exchanged. That's a whole separate thing. Has nothing to do with the exchanges.
It was a condition of the exchange at the time that we would also lease them the property back because they were using the property as parking before we exchanged the property with Raven. So they still needed the parking.
Okay, and then why was the 99-year thing approved? I mean, was that like a law that changed, 99 versus 40 years?
We believe it was just originally written in error, and that Danny has identified that law was actually in existence when the property exchanged.
Okay, thank you.
Well, Danny Brown from the City Attorney's Office. Sorry, Don. I can give a little bit more clarification to the difference between 99 and 40 years. At the time that this land was exchanged, Raven was using it as their parking lot, so it wasn't a city parking facility. Once we determined that the lease agreement wasn't signed, we realized that now it was a public parking facility owned by the city. So in order to make this right and stay with the spirit of the agreement, the best we could do was 40 years and not 99. So at the time, 99 could have been done, but once it became a public parking surface owned by the city, we're limited to 40.
Got it. Thanks, Danny. That makes sense. Other questions on this item or discussion? If not, I'd look for a motion, set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, October 2.
So moved, Erickson.
Second.
Moved by Erickson, seconded by Kiley. Any further discussion, Council? If not, a vote on this, please.
Council members Selberg.
Yes.
Sale.
Yes.
Starr.
Yes.
Staley.
Yes.
Brecky?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
All right, that passes 8-0. Item 39.
A resolution declaring it necessary to levy and levying a special front foot assessment fee for street maintenance and repair.
Hey, Galen.
Mayor, Council, this is a resolution to assess the front foot assessment for the year 2019. This is an annual, basically, that you have to annually that you have to approve. This assessment is this year is $1 for 2019. We're going to keep it at $1. It's been $1 since 2009. This revenue, the second page, you can see the revenue that's been generated. This revenue goes into my operations budget and goes for snow removal, street sweeping, potholing, anything that we do in front of a resident's house on streets. That helps to assist with our budget.
Got it. Thanks, Galen. Anyone from the public here to speak on this item? Questions for Galen on this, Council? If not, I would look for a motion on this item.
Move to approve.
Second.
Move to approve by Kylie, seconded by Erickson. Further discussion, Council? If not, a vote on this, please.
Councilmember Selberg?
Yes.
Sale?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Brecky?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
That item passes 8-0. Item 40.
A resolution advising and giving consent to the appointment of an audit committee member to the City Council Audit Committee.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilor Neitzer.
One of our audit committee members, Arnie Martins, is term limiting out, and we thank him for his service. This appointment is going to replace that position. Tony Gotch will replace Arnie. Tony has been an internal auditor at First National Bank for about 15, 16 years, and I ask for your approval.
Great. Anyone here from the public to speak on this item? Okay. Council, any questions or discussion on this?
Move approval, Neitzer.
Second, Brecky.
Move to approve Neitzer, seconded by Brecky. I'd ask for a vote on this, please.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilor Staley.
Yes. Now, I would just like to say that Councilor Greg Neitzer has taken over the chairmanship of the audit committee. I mentioned this last week at our 4 o'clock information. I'm going to say it again. I've been very impressed with his efforts to keep us informed, to be transparent about what he's doing. I know he's working very hard to try to make that department as accountable and effective for the citizens as possible, because it really is a checks and balance for us to be making sure that everything is being done within city government as it should be. So I'm just giving a big pat on the back to Greg Neitzer for doing such a good job and providing good government for the council and for the citizens.
Thank you, Councilor. I would give him a pat on the back as well. He has done a great job with this.
Thank you, Councilor. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Further discussion or pats on back for Greg? If not, I'd look for a vote on this item, please.
Councilmember Selberg?
Yes.
Sale?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Brecky?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
Thank you. That passes 8-0. Council, any new business?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Move to adjourn. Starr, seconded by Erickson. All in favor say yes.
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 Opposed say no. That's carried. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for all your work on the budget and for a great meeting. Have a good night.